Hi, this is Matthew Flinders, and I'm going to do 5 very short podcasts that are focused on helping my graduate taught students, my master's students, really write a very good, clear, strong essay. Now, there's going to be 5 podcasts, each maybe just 8, 9, 10 minutes each, and they're going to cover 5 topics. The first podcast looks at the basics. It tries to explain what we look for and what makes a really good essay. What are the key things you need to think about? The second podcast then looks at the introduction to an essay, because in many ways the introduction to an essay is the most important part. If I read a piece of work that has a pretty weak introduction, that's a pretty poor sign, and usually it leads into a poor essay. If I read an introduction which is really crisp and clear and interesting and coherent, then generally it's a really good essay. So having your introduction clear really allows you to map out and understand yourself what the essay is all about and where it's going. Podcast number 3 is going to look at the body, the main substantive part of your essay. How it might be shaped, what it might look like, how it might be crafted. The 4th podcast is going to focus on the conclusion and bibliography. How to wrap up an essay, pull it all together and make sure that the referencing and bibliography are perfect. There's nothing worse for an academic when marking essays to read a really great piece of work but then find that the bibliography or referencing simply hasn't been given enough attention and really lets the overall piece of work down. And then the final podcast is really going to be providing some general tips, some good honest advice about what you can do to improve the standard of your work. Even if you're getting really high merit distinctions, you can always improve your work, as everybody can. So this part 1 is really about the basics. Now, the first thing is I have no secret recipe for telling everybody how to get distinction level essays. If I were, or if anyone told you this is what you need to do, then I would be very wary, because often the best essays are quite eccentric. They're quite off the wall. They're very different. They kind of burst out at you in a way that you're not expecting, and it's very hard to, if not impossible, to teach somebody the skills of writing in that manner. That said, however, it is possible for me to set out a number of good practice guidelines or key tips or my own insights into what a really good master's essay looks like. And you've really got quite a lot of room to develop your work, 2,500 to 3,000 words. And what are we really looking for then? Well, there are 5 key elements when it comes to marking. If we are talking about a distinction level essay, a really good piece of work, we're looking for a high degree of analytical capacity or skill. We're looking for somebody who can really take a theoretical or conceptual framework and apply it to an empirical area, or they might take a piece of theory and seek to push it on into new terrain. But we're really looking for someone who can move well beyond description and really focus on analysis at a deeper level. So the second thing we're looking for is quite clear, quite concise, critical understanding. Do they understand the broader literature? Do they really have a clear grasp of the complexity of the issues that they're dealing with? Are they able to synthesize the broader material quickly but clearly, and then in a way try to take things on a little bit to develop it? So very importantly, we're looking for wide reading at the master's level. This is postgraduate work. It's very hard really at this level to be producing high quality essays on the back of 5 or 6 articles or book chapters, especially if they're ones that have been used and given to you in the seminars and discussed in detail. Wide reading always shows, and I can't underline that enough. apart from the analytical skill, critical thinking and a wide reading, we're also looking for you to be able to develop a clear argument, a very clear argument that you then set out and link each part of the essay to in order to come to an evidence-based conclusion. The final part is just nice, clear English. There's often a sense amongst students that in order to get a high mark, they have to adopt a very verbose, very esoteric vocabulary and make things really, really sophisticated. Often the best essays are the clearest essays. There's a very good essay by George Orwell called Politics in the English Language, which is all about writing concisely and clearly and getting your argument across. And a lot of students would do really well from just reading that short essay by Orwell. So, those are the 5 things we're looking for. Analytical skill, critical understanding, wide reading, a good structure, and good English. Make sure I remember all 5. Okay, so what I want to focus on in the last couple of minutes of this first webcast are the 2 core, the most important parts of an essay. Excuse me. The first part, the first important element is what I call the hook. Now, if you haven't got a hook, you haven't got an essay. It sounds like a cliche, but it's not. When I say a hook, I mean, what is the central focus of this piece of work? What's its central question? Or what is the core argument? You need to know what that is. It's no point just writing about a broad topic and producing a very broad piece of work. Because in a way, what you need to do particularly at all levels really, but particularly at the MA level, is be able to drill down and provide both depth and breadth. And it's having a clear hook, a clear focus that allows you to set out exactly what you want to do, why, how you're going to do it, how each part of the essay then relates to that core hook, and why it matters. So, you need to know exactly what your core hook is. And once you've got that hook clear, everything else should normally fall into place. And it falls into place around what I see as the second core component of a good essay, which is a good structure, a good clear body. If you're writing for 2,500, 3,000 words, then I would have thought you would need to include a number of subheadings to break up the structure of the essay. Maybe 5 or 6, not too many, but 5 or 6 nice clear subheadings to inject a degree of clarity and flow and signposting throughout your work. Once you've got your hook, you can then think about how I might break down my argument into the various sections of an essay. Now, it's very important before you ever start writing then to just get 1 page of A4, empty bit of paper, and jot down at the top of the page, what is my key hook? What's the focus on? So you might say my focus is on the issue of governance, risk, regulation, and earthquakes. So that's your broad, for example, your broad area. You might then decide to focus that down by looking at the issue in 2 countries. So let's say America and Pakistan. So you might have a core question. How do the risk regulatory regimes in Pakistan and the United States differ? That's your core question. That then allows you to shape the body of your essay around your core question. So that leads me very neatly to wrap up this first introduction or overview, and the next second webcast I'm going to focus very closely on how to craft a very nice, neat, clear introduction to your essay which sets out the hook and provides an outline of the structure. So if you're interested in that, you want webcast number 2.